So just as an intro to modeling, I thought maybe I'd go through the process of making a simple hangar right quick, just using Blender 2.79 here. This is the default scene that we set up before in the previous video, and the only thing that I want to do differently before I start is to go over to the scene tab here, and let's set our units to metric, just to make it a little easier to match up our model with real world sizing. So anyway, you can see our 3D cursor is right here in the center of the scene. I'm going to use Shift A and add a cube in. And by default, that cube is sort of buried halfway into the ground because, of course, remember this grid floor that we have here, this is going to be our ground essentially when we export the model. So the quickest way to get that up to ground level is to hit Tab to go into edit mode, and holding down the control key, just pulling up on the Z-axis one unit. Basically, it moves it one Blender unit or one metric unit, which I guess in this case would be a meter. And then you can hit Tab again, and now you see, because you went into edit mode first and made your move, you hit Tab, the center for the object is still at the 0 point here, right at ground level. So if we go to hit the N key and look at the transform, you can see that the location of the object is at 0 meters. So that's a good place to start from. Alright, let's do a little scaling here. Hit the S key. I want to scale it. Actually, let me hit Shift Z to not scale it along the Z axis. We'll just do X and Y. Make it a little bigger. And hit Control A and apply the scale. Let's see, so it's 5.34 meters right now, wide, a couple meters tall. Now 2 meters tall is really short. That's about the height of a tallish human. So let's go scale 2 and scale that sucker up. Alright, that's a little more like it. And let's see. What we're going to do is build our roof first here. So I'm going to use Control Tab to switch over into face select mode. Select this bottom face and bring it way up here actually. This is going to be our roof. And Control R puts this into loop cut mode. I'm just going to left click there and right click, and we've created a new loop right in the center of our hangar. And then we can just grab the manipulator and bring it up on the Z-axis a little bit to make a pitched roof. It's not going to be too steep a pitch because this is a fairly large building. It's not going to be pitched like a house. Alright, and you might wonder why I did the roof this way first, just floating that way. Usually when you go through a tutorial like this, they tell you to put a cube down and then add the roof on top of it. But I kind of like this technique. Two things are going on. One is most of the aerial photos that you'll have, at least the ones that are like immediately top down on a particular object, will be showing you that the outline of the building will be the outline of the roof, you know, and so any overhanging the roof is doing is gonna be essentially what you're seeing. The body of the building may be smaller than the roof and tucked in because of eaves and whatnot, and it's easier to do an inset to make the body of your building than it is to do scaling, extruding and scaling to make the roof happen. And I'll show you what I mean here. Control Tab, get the face select mode, selecting the bottom two faces of our roof here. I'm going to use the I key and inset, and you can just, you know, mouse back and forth to determine how much of an overhang you want your roof to have. I'm just going to do a little like that, and then E to extrude down. Now we've got the body of our hangar starting to take shape. Of course, it's, you know, at an angle that mimics the roof there. So with the two bottom planes selected here, scale, S key, Z, 0. And that will scale everything on, basically scale everything to be flat on the Z axis. Hit enter. That's a bit more like it. And then of course it's floating off the ground right now, so we'll just go over to our transform panel here, and we are going to set the let's go to global for our measurements and set that to Z, and that nails those two planes right to the ground. All right, and it's kind of goofy looking now, so I'm going to select these top two roof planes, and using control and the plus key on the numpad, I'm going to expand the selection until I have the entire roof selected but not the walls, and then I'm just going to drag them down. Yeah, something like that, just to get it started. Alright, so that's starting to take shape a little bit, and I think I want to add a hangar door to the front of this here. So I'm going to control tab to vertex mode, select these two vertices that are under the overhang, hit the J key to join them, and that will make one single edge along there. And then I'm going to control tab into edge select mode, select the top and bottom edges on the one side, hit W, subdivide, do the same thing on the other side, W, subdivide, W, subdivide, and then select these two edges, which are going to be the sides of our door, and hit S and X to scale them on the X-axis. Let's get them out there pretty good. This can be a wide door. So that's the door outlined, and let's inset it a little bit so that it looks a little more realistic and gives us a little more interest. Going to go into face select mode and select the door faces and hit E to extrude. Just extrude them back into the building. I'm actually using the shift key so that the extrude is a little finer. Without the shift key you can make big movements. With the shift key you can make smaller, more precise movements. Alright, like that. And you see right away that really is looking pretty good for your just basic simple hangar. Now we have a couple of faces here that we want to get rid of. Actually here, let's go underneath, get rid of the bottom faces because they're never going to show, and select these two small faces that we got as an artifact of our extrude, and delete those as well, and that's a little more like it. So if you wanted to keep your door closed, you could just use this and then begin to texture it and put it into the sim. If you want the door to be open, say you want to see the inside of your hangar, then we'll go through a few extra steps here. We'll select our door. What let's hit the P key and separate it by selection so it's a separate part. And I'm just going to choose that in object mode and hide it. H key. Oh, let me in my menu off to the right here, let me turn on backface culling, so you see this the way the sim is going to see it. If there's not a face, it's not going to draw one. It's not going to draw two-sided by default. So you see all of our normals face outward now. There is no interior to the hangar yet. What I think I'm going to do now, let's see, let me choose my outer faces here, outer walls. Alright, just the walls, not the roof, not the overhang, and more importantly, not these little in fact, I think I'm going to get rid of these faces that are the inside of the door frame altogether right now, because we're going to put those back in a minute a different way. Alright, let me try that again. So I'm going to select all the faces on the walls. Alright, and I am actually going to hit P and select those, make those a separate part as well. Alright, and I'm going to hit Shift H to hide everything but the walls. And let's see, I think I will go into edge mode and hit F to fill, and we're going to add the roof here. I'll show you why in just a second. Alright, so we have the shell of our building. And we're going to go over here to the modifiers panel, and we're going to add a solidify modifier to it, which basically takes our normals that were all facing in one direction and makes a fully watertight model of the inside and outside. Getting close so you can kind of see what's happening. Put it in wireframe. We're going to change the thickness. You can see it changing the wall thickness here. That gives us an interior and an exterior on our hangar. Then we're going to apply the modifier so it bakes it all in. Then go back into face select mode and select these two top outwardly facing roof planes and get rid of those faces because we don't need them. We've already got a roof. Okay, go into object mode, hit Alt H to unhide everything. Let's see, my door is just a little out because I recreated the thickness of the wall here. The door is a little out of whack, so I'm going to just move it, just select it and move it forward a little bit, and then we'll just hide it for now. And now you can see that even with backface calling on, we have a hangar that has both an interior and an exterior that can each be textured separately. And then later on we can go through how to add the door and how to add a joint to it and animate it and all that sort of thing. But for now, this is your basic open hangar.